to have at the regional level on omnibus law, and a simple one, which one single article, which says in every and each national law, local means East African. If this can be passed, actually it could help to achieve more than, and to move more quickly than what you have done until now. So can we support the move and mobilize towards having this kind of law? Let's try, but I am also convinced if we could have this one, it could be very, very helpful. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Did you get this information saying that defining local and local meaning East Africa? Did you get that? All in favor, say aye. Yes. Oh, goodness. We can actually go into and do our whole legal framework here. I'm going to pass on the mic to Mr. Peter. He's a former member of the, Peter Mathuki is a former member of the East African Legislative Assembly. This is all matters to do with law. I mean, it just requires you to pass it. But again, we get a deadlock with Yala. What's not happening?
Thank you very much. Let me start by appreciating, of course, the submissions by the panel and the submissions that they are putting. But I want to put some three things very clearly. The treaty establishing the East African Community says it is a private sector-driven integration. Fortunately or unfortunately, the space seems to have been taken by political leadership. Political leaders are driving the agenda of this community. And I tell you, if you allow the space for political leadership to drive the integration, then we are not getting anywhere. Because what we want to be seen is in the cities doing things that are visible, sitting, for example, in capitals, signing free trade areas in Africa and stuff, when you have not gotten it right at the regional level. So before even we go to the level of strengthening what we call the free trade area in Africa, you need to strengthen the RECs. You need to strengthen the community first. And to strengthen the community is to put what you are saying, that you cannot succeed in the integration if you don't get the custom union right, you don't get the common market correct. There's no way you can succeed in monetary union. So you need to get first things right. In fact, you look at even what is happening, the overlapping of membership of the RECs. You are a member of Eabc, and you are a member of another regional bloc. So where is your loyalty? Where is your commitment in this? How do we even agree to have a common currency at some point in East Africa when you're already a member of Commerce and stuff? At some point we talked about the tripartite, the COMESA, the Eabc, the SADC. What is happening around that discussion? We seem to have simply been mentioned at the political level, but at the business level, what are you doing? So I would encourage, we appreciate that now the private sector, you must assume your role, and you assume your role aggressively. You say you must drive this. Because once you leave it to the political leadership, the wars run away with it, and they will come back and blame it on you. So I think let us be realistic. You have the best, you have an opportunity, and the private sector, you need to be strong. For example, when you come at the country level, we find even at the country level, you are competing, you are fighting. You find there are a number of associations at the country level who are coordinating the private sector. You find there's that duplication, and that duplication is going to work against the private sector. So I think this is a high time. Eabc needs to stamp authority. You need to have strong membership. In fact, if there's anything you need to do now than never before, is to do serious mobilization on your membership so that you have a strong voice that you can be able to drive the integration. Otherwise, the integration process is not going anywhere. I thank you very so much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank my colleague Candy will help me pass on the mic. Is there any final submission? A lady this time, perhaps? Any lady who will give a submission? Really interesting points. Let's give a round of applause to the three gentlemen who've weighed in on the discussion that we are having up on stage. I really do not want to preempt what the next session is going to be like, which is, of course, looking at positioning East African community and, of course, the businesses in Africa and beyond. So, to my power partner on stage, listening to, the experts on the ground and from where they sit and what stands out for you, because I'd want us now to give our concluding remarks and give way forward, because I wouldn't want it to be, likened to more like just, it was mentioned. Remember, we are having this mini TED and we would like to get conclusive feedback and conclusive remarks that we can actually follow on and say, next time we meet, this is actually the progress we've made. I'm going to start with you, Madam Consolata, from where you sit and gathering from all that. What do you think would be the right step to take now as a region and as a business community?
I think we have to think regionally instead of thinking nationally. It's going to save a lot of things, and also have the same speed. I think we don't have the same speed as countries. We should be on the same speed and think more regionally than nationally.
Thank you very much. I still want to hold on to you and just kind of representing the women. And here I'm just trying to encourage particularly the SME sector and really just speak to them and speak to the community, because we've been bashed that at times it might take on a very high level perspective and forget the role of even the border traders. The ladies will sell you oranges at the border perhaps, and even sell you even your attire perhaps. Yes,
I think they are doing very well. They are trying, but as I said previously, there is a lot of barriers and obstacles, but they can face it. If we think, as I previously said, regionally, the barrier will go out, so they can cross all the borders, sell their goods, make better quality, and maybe just go up to African market as we are going to, for export.
Thank you, Madam Consolata. Wanamosha, I think you are really nodding when we went to the plenary session. What stood out for you?
Thank you very much indeed. Just 4 things very quickly. We have to recognize that we are not competing amongst ourselves. We are creating conditions for us to compete with the rest of the world. That must be key to our understanding. Number 2, with the tripartite, with the African Free Trade Area, let us be clear. Our focus is on the East African community, because we happen to be people with very intrinsic shared values and history, and we can more easily integrate than going to wider areas. Let us perfect what we have as we move on to work with others. That to me would appear to be the number 2 thing. Number 3, let us implement what we've agreed to implement, because all these things have been agreed upon. It's not like they are new. We have also agreed the elimination of NTBs and everything. Let us do that. And number 4, finally, the conviction of what we want to do. The conviction that I talked of, evidence-based conclusions. I was very disappointed when I read in the paper about what had happened in Eabc, that they had come an English professor from Oxford. And we in the English, who have trained in English, when you hear a professor from Oxford, sometimes it can be intellectually frightening. So this professor apparently comes and says, you people forget about the monetary union. You can't do it. We're not even able to do it in Europe. And then all of a sudden, people start saying, did you hear what the professor said? Instead of telling the professor, this is not your business, just go and correct your mess in Europe. We have our own scheme in East Africa, and we are going ahead. But when the community came up with some doubts, I was absolutely frightened. I said, how can we do that? It can come from Oxford, it can come from Harvard, it can come from anywhere. That's not our issue. So I'm saying we have to be convinced of what we are doing and be convinced that we are doing the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's believe in ourselves. I want now to bring in Ambassador Carrera to just now kind of bring it to a soft landing, especially representing the private sector bodies and seeing or painting the future forward, and what you'd actually even cause the government and of course the EAC is represented here to actually quick wins for them to implement and make it easy for you to do business.
Mine is, again, I said it earlier, it's a call on all of us. We have to rethink our strategy we have to redefine ourselves in the context of the happenings across the continent. I have a vision, which I would happily share with anybody. I think we need to get together in one room as the private sector of the region, think out what we are doing well, be advised or seek people to guide us as to where exactly we are on every other thing, the common market protocol, look at our successes, look at our failures, know where we went wrong, and then position ourselves to trade continentally. Otherwise, the CFTA is not going to be of meaning to us, and this is our chance, this is our time. So may I call upon the entire private sector of the region, can we sit in one room one of these days? I said earlier, we are lucky we have the chair. And we asked the chair, this is our positioning today. We want you to support us in this way, but let's be in one room, redefine ourselves, engage our leadership, and tell them this is where we would like to position ourselves in view of the signed up Africa Trade Area.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Allow me now, the last but not least, Mr. Bagamunda, you are sitting in at a point where, of course, your team is minute-taking and getting to understand what are the pain points, what are some of the hurdles from the side of the private sector, from the side of policy players, from the side of developmental partners. I think from us EAC, I don't know what is standing out as a key challenge and way forward.
I think the challenges that we have encountered in the implementation of the integration milestones are not insurmountable, in my view. They are normal expected hurdles that you have to find a solution around them, because some of them are not embedded as deeply to the extent that you cannot solve them. But I want to say one thing that is coming out of this discussion is that the integration of EAC to the deeper end of it should not be diverted by what is happening at the continental level. It is actually, we should have the impetus now. It should create more momentum for the EAC to reposition itself by deepening its integration so that you take advantage, because EAC is a pacemaker, and we had this in mind when we were thinking about starting a customs union, a common market, and ultimately a political federation. We had in mind, we said, why do we have to start from a lower levels of integration like a free trade area or a preferential trade area? We've been there, we are not reinventing the wheel. Let's go for the higher mark. And I think we have kept the pace. And this pace should not now be misinterpreted by the greater integration. And we need to take a leaf. As you move deeper, the requirements and the more and more aspects that you have to take into consideration. And I think Mr. Moshe talked about them. The intrinsic values that we share across East Africa creates a bigger platform to leap us to the next level. And it is because of that, if you look at COMESA and SADC, I'm sorry to say that we are members of the same also, our partner states. They have been talking about becoming a customs union for the last 10 years or more. Why haven't they managed to reach there? And the ES is moving to a common market, to a monetary. The monetary union is achievable. And I think it's a matter of now looking at what is we need to put together to make the foundation in the common market, like trading services, which forms a bigger percentage of our GDP, about 40–50%. And I want to urge the East African Business Council. You have also over-focused more on trading goods. I think there is need to create a very strong, I know you have platforms, but we need to revitalize and strengthen the other platforms, particularly in trading services, and get those people involved in service sector to move as those in the sector of trade in goods. And I think finally, Mr. Moderator, we need also to relook at the institutional mechanism of our institutions, including East African Business Council. If you take a leaf from EU has a very strong committee called the Economic and Social Committee. It is a very strong body that gives opinion on its own or takes referred decisions by the Commission and the Parliament. We need to strengthen the East African Business Council institutions. If we let our East African Business Council in Arusha to be dependent on donor funding, on support from outside, then we compromise the ability of the private sector to drive the integration process. I believe you are successful in your businesses, so you need to make your association and the running of that association successful by giving it all the necessary support that is required. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your comments. Mr. Kenneth Bagamuhunda, who's the Director General of Customs. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Mr. Dennis Carrero, Vice Chairman, Eabc. Ambassador Felix Moshe from Tanzania Private Sector Foundation, of course, Past Chairman, Eabc. Consolata and Shimie, who's the former Eabc chairperson. Asanteni sana. Nashkuru. Just maintain your position. Maintain your position. I'd want us to do a short activity. We're just jumping into the next panel. And Richard Kamajuga will be taking up from that. I know he's just prepping themselves. We're just going to stretch a bit more, but allow me to just introduce to you Kenya's industrialists. I think the regions further in these matters in manufacturing. So Manu, you're coming into the next panel. I notice you are gearing up to start. So I just want you to say a quick hello as we do a short activity, and then the next panel will be up. Just quick hello.
Good afternoon. For 3 days, I lost my voice, and that doesn't happen too often. All I just wanted to greet you people. It's many years back when we started East African Business Council. I can see some of the old faces here, which are there, and they're still there. So I think that what we'll do is just hear, and if you have any questions. My basic issue that I want to tell you, unless you are going to dig in, unless you're going to push the issues, no political parties, no politicians, no government is going to accept anything against the sovereignty. If we want to build East Africa, there is no way we should have a borderless East Africa. And to do that, the only people like us can keep on pushing, with the rest of them are all self-interest. So unless you wake up and push, it's not going to happen. Because there's no political will. Every 5 years, government change, another president comes, and you have a different story. So it's not a possibility. You, as a private sector people, need to take the control of the situation and do something about it. You don't fight, you sit at home. You fight, we can make East Africa happen. And it's not only East Africa, but now the President Rwanda has gone to even bigger borders, 43 countries. And even there, we are not going to win the game unless the private sector has got that stamina, push, and prepare to work for one cause. And this cause is not only for us, ourselves, but it's for our children and their children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manu Chandari there, who will also be speaking further in the next panel. I noticed, Daktari, was it right, Honorable Sir, you want to give a comment? Or let me just cross over to you in case you'd want to quickly contribute, because I want to wrap up this panel to the next session.
Thank you very much. I have not been here from the beginning. That's why I was trying to get off my double boss back at home so that I could concentrate here. Now, the topic you've been discussing, I found you discussing, is, I could say, God sent. Because the founders of all these structures and the vision had all those vision in place. Because I was part of it anyway, and I'm still around. So although governments may move, somehow at certain historical points, you may have some people who can be able to give you some small experience. And to have in one go a collapse of all the states saying we have opened up, and they find you already moving, then if you don't take advantage,